Sweet merciful heavens, I can't believe I found this.
What? What did you find?
I found a reprint of the first edition Shadowrun book. I'm actually surprised they even did this.
You reviewed Shadowrun before, right? You didn't like the game, right?
I didn't like the 6th edition book because the book is very all over the place. I legitimately had to watch a video on how to roll a character because the book is so poorly written and formatted.
So you're going back to the first edition of the game? Didn't that come out when you were born?
No. This game originally came out in 1989, 7 years before I was born, though 3rd edition came out 2 years after me, but I don't have that book. I want to talk about this reprint. Well, kind of. I want to talk about the game it's a reprint of.
Okay, so you're reviewing the first edition game, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm doing, while also comparing this book to my 6th edition book. Honestly, the fact that I can figure out where to find things in this book already makes it a lot better than the current edition. So, now that we've gone on about that, let's talk about this game. So, starting out, there are 5 meta-human types: dwarves, elves, orcs, trolls, and obviously the humans. Each one has bonuses and negatives. We'll go into that if and when it comes up. Starting out, we go into attributes. There are 3 categories: physical, mental, and special. Each has 3 different sub-attributes. Physical has body, quickness, and strength. Body is your fortitude. Quickness is your dexterity and movement speed. Strength is, well, strength, obviously. Mental is charisma, intelligence, and willpower. Charisma is charisma, intelligence is book smarts, and willpower is your force of mind. Then there's special attributes: essence, magic, and reaction. Essence is your connection between your flesh body and your cybernetics. Magic is your arcane capabilities, and reaction seems to be how well you work under pressure. Now we go to the actual character creation. There are 2 ways to go about it, and that's to either choose a pre-existing archetype or make your own. This version of the book goes into the archetypes and what they do at creation. We'll look at that first. Each archetype comes with presets of attributes, skills, cybernetics, contacts, gear, and such. Now, before we go into the archetypes, I need to go over the attribute ratings real quick. They go from 1 to 6, each with progressively better descriptors. 1 is weak, then underdeveloped, then typical, then improved, then superior, and the last one is maximum unmodified human. That last one is described that way because 6 in everything is the highest maximum a human can have in any trait. Speaking of that, every race has a different maximum in everything. This is carried across all editions of the game, so we won't really go into this. But it is rather interesting when you learn about each race's backstory, which is literally the page before this part, so it's not that far away. Now, the archetypes. Burned Out Mage is a mage who's become disillusioned with the use of magic as it causes issues. He still has magic, but also a bunch of cybernetics as well, which you'll need to look into later on in the book to keep track of both the spells and the cybernetics. Decker is a hacker character who can manipulate the Matrix in order to take over various machines and cybernetics in others. They come with some programs which seem to be a sort of like sub-attribute that is directly involved with hacking. Essentially, it's a sub-character just for hacking. Detective is next, an investigator by their very nature with absolutely no cybernetics in their body. This is a dude who's good with a gun and fantastic at seeing things. Elven Decker is an Decker, but elf. So apparently these archetypes are locked to races and genders, but I don't really think it changes enough to warrant it, especially given there's only 2 specific races mentioned throughout all these archetypes. Everything else is assumed human. Former company man is essentially the cyberpunk corpo. You used to be the desk man, now you have a gun. Genie has a gun. Former wage mage is like the burnt out mage, but you got paid to be a magician. You've got 3 different subclasses to pick out to play, changing your magic basically. Fighter, healer, and prowler. Weirdly enough, the fighter gets a powerful healing spell, while the healer is just honestly kind of insane with the amount of healing capabilities they got. And the prowler is a stealth magician. I like that. Gang member is your rogue basically. You get a single gun, but you get 3 different melee weapons if you include the cybernetics. Merc is your tanky ranged gunner. Sometimes they're essentially police, despite Shadowrunners being criminals by their very nature. Orc mercenary is the merc, but orcish. Huh. This is spelled with a K. Let's not tell GW. They did the K to get a copyright stuff. Rigger, I'm not entirely sure if this is a human augmented to Sin or an elf. But they're hackers that specialize in equipment, vehicles, weapons, and the likes. Rocker is your bard. Why does it come with an amp? Are they carrying an amp? Oh, they get to choose their look, despite you kind of get to do that anyway in an imaginary world like this. Shaman is a tribal magician that is much more close combat magic, with 4 subclasses: Fighter, Healer, Deceiver, and Detector. Detector uses magic to gain information, and the Fighter doesn't have the healing ability in this one. Street Mage is a self-taught magician, with the same subclasses as the Shaman, but with more gear. I forgot to mention that these last 2 did not get cyberware, and neither did the Orc Merc. But the Street Mage is the same as the Shaman, but with a different vibe. Street Samurai is a jack of all trades without magic. Street Shaman is essentially the Street Mage and the Shaman just combined slightly. And the Tribesman is the gang member, but a different vibe. I actually see why the company kind of removed most of these archetypes. I bet people in the 2010s and after threw riots over the fact that American natives are in this game, which I could go on about that, but I won't here. Now, that took a lot longer than I originally intended, but I'm gonna go over archetype creation real quick, but we are just gonna give a quick and dirty. I will go over this again in the future. Each archetype is built with 5 areas in mind, at 5 possible levels of, quote, priority: magic, attributes, skills, tech, and race, ranging from the numbers 0 through 4. You will take each number and assign them to a different characteristic, and that'll assign the number of points to said characteristic to buy abilities and such. Now, this is a lot more than what 6th edition told me, because I still don't know what the hell a karma is. But we also need to mention this ancient dice pool system. Now, each test you take will have a number of dice you roll equivalent to the skill you have. Metahumans also have allergies that may affect this as well. When you roll the dice pool, you are looking for each dice to get above the target number, allergies increasing the target. You will then take them and weigh them against the number that failed. Weirdly enough, the wording implies that even one die succeeds, the whole check succeeds, but I think that's more just bad wording, and this weigh out the positives and negatives makes more sense and gives a chance of failure, which failure can be fun in my opinion. Of course, there's also magic. With each spell, it has a positive and a negative, especially the summoning magics that the shamans are very well versed in. There's also totems as well. This is all very complicated, but at least this book tells me this stuff. Honestly, if you find this game, it's definitely worth the $50, but I'm going to have to talk about more of this game next week. There's still a lot of details to go into for this book, so we'll do more there next week. Shove off!